Hey, I'm Dave Rubin, and just a quick reminder to subscribe. All right, more importantly, joining me today is a former Arizona police officer and now the co-founder of the Blexit movement, Brandon Tatum. Welcome to the Rubin Report.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here. I was 7. We used to smoke marijuana with my cousins. And when I say marijuana, for people that know about smoking weed, we weren't smoking joints. We were smoking blunts.
Yeah.
My older cousins would go buy weed, and then we'll come together and we'll smoke it. My parents had no idea what we were doing until we got busted that time when I was 8. My brother was 10.
So you get busted. What happened?
Well, we got busted, the vacant house. I mean, they came in like the SWAT team. They put guns on us and everything. And they put us in the squad car. We went to the detention center. But the thing that I love that my dad did, and it really changed my life, is that we didn't get a whooping. He didn't whoop us. He set me down. We were on a ride home. He set me down and said, look, Brandon, if you don't act with integrity and you don't change your ways, you will never play in the NBA. Because at the time, I wanted to be like Michael Jordan. I mean, that hurt me more than any whooping could. And it kind of set me on a path of feeling like, you know, I need to do better, man. You know, I love my cousins, but we can't hang out with them no more and get into trouble that'll end up causing me to lose my future. You know, when you're a young man, you're growing up with no direction. Where do you go? Who do you look to? You got to look to people that are influential males in the community, and they didn't have a dad. So you have a kind of a matriculation of this fatherless home issue going on, and people trying to be fathers without having examples of what a real father is. So now you're going to gang members and other dudes like our cousins, you know, and we didn't have to because we had a strong dad, which helped us. But you still want to be like your big cousins because they're cool and it's, you know, it's kind of trendy what they're doing, and it leads young men down the wrong path. People get offended by it, right? It's hard for humans, for people to take responsibility for their own action. It's very difficult, you know, so people like to divert. In the Black community, culture is what's really destroying us, right? I mean, it's culturally acceptable more now than it was, I don't know, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, for you to be in a single parent home. Back in the day, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you know, having a family structure was all we depended on. As Black people, to build, we understood the value of it. So in the culture, stability is almost viewed upon like you're acting white. When I was growing up and, you know, you would do well in school, people would say, well, you're trying to be like the white man. You know, if you want to have your pants right like it's supposed to, tuck your shirt in and say, you know, I'm going to marry women, I'm not going to disrespect women. I'm telling you, I don't know how it is in every high school around the world, you know, in the Black community, but I know how mine was. And you were getting shunned. I remember we had some guys who were virgins in high school and in college. I mean, you get bullied. Yeah. There's something wrong with you if you're not having sex. That's cultural, man. And I feel like if that changed, we may be able to return back to saying, let's value our women, let's value relationships. I saw black and white very clearly. I took Africana studies in college, and there was a period of time where I hated white people. I did. I felt so offended by what they did to my ancestors. From the things they taught us in college. How can you exist in an environment where you hate white people, but you're only 13% of the population? How can you exist in that environment? You're gonna find yourself hating almost everybody you're around. You're gonna find yourself, you know, screwing yourself out of opportunities. Because if you're looking at your boss as the enemy, are you gonna perform well on your job? Are you gonna be more willing to try new things or go up in the ranks? Are you gonna have the spirit for you to visualize success when all you think is you know that you're being oppressed by the white man? So some of that was in me growing up. You know, I grew up in an all Black community. I never dated a white girl. It was shunned in my community. Growing up, you date a white woman, you're gonna get bullied. You're a sellout. You know, so I had none of that exposure. Never was really around white people consistently. And so I began to see, like, you know, white people aren't as evil as I thought they were.
So they weren't hunting you down on campus? They weren't hunting us down.
And like I said, when I got saved, it was like, it's like God imparted in my heart that we're all the same, man.
So what was that spiritual wake-up moment?
I had been going to church growing up. You know, we were in church, but church wasn't in us, right? We go to church and we leave. We listen to rap music and doing all that kind of other stuff. We didn't pray. We didn't read the Bible. So that's kind of our lukewarm Christian upbringing. And I was having visions and dreams and stuff of God. Jesus visited me in one of my dreams, like in a vision. And I went to a church. I got invited to Emmanuel Grace Apostolic Church. I'll never forget that church. And it just turned my life around. One day I went up to the front. I had a friend with me, and she was crying, at the altar call. She's crying, and she want to, find God. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm going to take her up there because she's too scared. Let me take her to get her some pray for, because they pray for you at the front. And when I went up there, I ended up getting prayed for. And then I found myself getting baptized, and God really just changed me, man, complete. I didn't curse. I stopped listening to rap music completely, and my perspective of life just completely changed. I saw everybody the same. It was no more black and white, this racist stuff. It was like, you know what? God created us all. We're all brothers and sisters in God, and we just have different melanin in our skin. During my college career, I met a young lady, and we had a kid together. And we weren't married, so we had a kid out of wedlock, which was a whole story in and of itself, because I was in the church, I was in the choir, and I had to sit out the choir. It was a lot of things that happened in the church because of this. I think it's important to say. So we had a kid, and we were having a son. Me and her was on 2 different pages, right? I was into the church. We made a mistake, but I didn't believe in abortion. She, on the other hand, was pro-abortion. And I remember we had a conversation about it. She told me, look, I just want to see how far along I am. And that was our communication. I went to Planned Parenthood with her. At the time, I didn't know what Planned Parenthood was. I thought it was a little clinic for women, whatever. Now I know it's a little bit of a different perspective. But at the time, I didn't know. I went with her to, to see how far along she was. At the front door of the facility, she said, I want you to know I'm having an abortion. And I was hurt, man. I was hurt. People don't think that men matter in these women choice situations, but they do. That's my child. She didn't tell me nothing. She had already orchestrated the thing, but she waited to the front door to tell me. I sat in the lobby and I prayed, and I said, God, please don't let her do this. Please, like, this is my son. I know we made a mistake with fornication, but I don't believe in making 2 mistakes. I don't believe in this. And I prayed in there for I don't know how long. I leave, get back in the car, maybe like an hour and a half later, she comes out of there crying profusely. And I thought she did it. And I said, I was hurt, but I said, she just went through a difficult thing. I'll try to support her emotionally. She came to the car and she cried, and she go, I couldn't do it.
Wow.
I couldn't do it. I got to give her kudos because my son is 9 years old now. we had just argued briefly on the phone about the engagement ring or something like that. It's nothing major. And I tell this story because it's always funny to me how this happened. We had a little argument the night before, wake up the next morning, and I get a phone call from the Tucson Police Department. And initially I thought she had called the police on me, like she was mad at me. I'm like, why would she call the police on me on a basic argument like that? She wanted me to go to jail. But when I answered the phone, they were like, you apply for the job. And I'm like, I did. Well, let's see where this goes. But I didn't know nothing about policing, nothing. Except when I got arrested when I was 8. in the agenda that you feel, growing up in the black community, feeling like the cops always have to get you.
So you become a police officer. This is sort of a 180, as you just said, from where you started.
Right.
What was the most eye-opening thing about being an officer?
It was the idea that I had no idea what police did, and I thought I did, right? Watching cops, listening to people online. I realized that people that have never put on a badge and actually served as a police officer, they have very limited understanding of policing, period. I mean limited to like 10% of an understanding, even less than that. You had a black community in Tucson, and you arrested people that look like people that you grew up with, act like people you grew up with, like my cousins and grandma, And so dealing with that kind of give you a little, flashbacks of what went on. And I got to see it from both sides. All of that horrible stuff I thought they did to us when we were in a vacant house, how they treated us and all that stuff, I realized that them officers was right. They did what they're supposed to do. Getting a call of that nature, not knowing who to expect, knowing that we die on a day-to-day basis from calls simply like that. If people understood what policing was, you would understand that it's rare for a police officer to be actually a racist. Now, are there racist people on the police department? Yes. There's racist pastors. Come on. We all know that every walk of life, there's some idiot out there that's still lingering to hateful rhetoric. Yeah. But some people need to know that because watching the media every day, if you're not an informed person or you're not a person that's a leader and you can lead with your own thoughts, you're a follower, you'll fall into that stuff. But it's very difficult to be a racist on a police department. And one of the biggest reasons why is because you can't pick who you serve. And the least racist people, in my opinion, are the white police officers that work in the black community. Because you put your life on the line every day for black folks. You are willing to die for black folks. You have to visually see and feel the pain and hurt in the community when brothers getting shot every day. People don't realize that police are the ones got to put those young brothers in body bags. I don't care who you are. When you see a young man with his brains hanging out, clinging for life, maybe even pleading for his life, gurgling in blood, the age of your son, the age of your nephew, cousin, somebody that looks like your mom, your grandmother, a young baby that's been shot through the head from a drive-by. I don't care what race you are, man. It messes with you. And for people to think that these white officers are these cruel, evil people that don't have any sense of emotions or attachment to human life, these people are the people that are pushing this rhetoric are evil and liars. I also believe that it's racist, in my opinion, to make the projection that white officers are targeting black people in the community. And one of the main reasons is that you would have to assume that all black people are bad. Think about this for a minute. If officers are afraid of black people, that means that all of them are doing something that will lead officers to be afraid of them. That's not true. Yeah. It's only a few dummies that are destroying the community. What about grandma now, who've been robbed? They call the police for help. Some women have been raped. They call the police for help. Officers are seeing another side of black people that they don't want to tell you about, but they project it so people can be divided. And I think that's the biggest thing that bothers me about it. I was considered the black person whisperer, right? I'm serious. Like, we would go on calls and black people would be like, oh man, F that, you know what? I don't want to talk. Man, where the black officer at? Man, come on, brother. Tell them that they go to jail just like they would with the white officer. But somehow they felt compassion because they felt they can identify with me. And a lot of times they would listen to me articulate to them, brother, it ain't what you think it is. They didn't pull you over because you black. You think they care about your color of your skin? You got pulled over because you had a suspended driver's license or your suspended registration. Stop jumping to that conclusion because you are creating a scenario of frustration and conflict that doesn't need to be had. An officer just comes over to you doing a routine, what we call routine traffic stop, and now you hype. Oh, you put me over because I'm black. This is what that means to an officer when you say that. Is that I'm a racist, right? Yeah. And I don't have any integrity at all. Yeah. And I didn't waste it all these years developing, building what I've established, and you're telling me that I'm willing to throw that away and I have no integrity, I don't care about my family, I don't care about my pension or nothing, because I want to racially profile you as if I'm that shallow-minded. Well, you better believe you're probably about to get a ticket. And I think people don't understand that they start the conversation off very wrong when they do that. There's money in black people's emotions, right? We're probably the most emotional people, a group of people, if you want a group, in the country. Twice as many white people have been shot this year unarmed than black people in America. Almost every year, the case is that more white people get shot unarmed than black people. And white people are not going to be doing what black people are doing, right? I don't see white people protesting. I remember in New Mexico, they had a shooting in New Mexico. The officer shot the guy in the back. He was mentally ill, shot him in the back. I thought it was ridiculous for him to shoot the guy with the rifle in the back from such a distance. Killed him. It was a bad shooting. I think the officer got fired. They all got in trouble. White people aren't out here protesting. Black people, for some reason, I don't know if it's the legacy of slavery that got us in the mentality of feeling like we have to defend and be mob-like on certain occasions, but we are going to protest. Right, wrong, or indifferent. The man can pull a gun and shoot an officer and he gets shot back. We will protest. I've seen it with my own eyes. The media understands that. So they don't care nothing about nobody. It's about if it bleeds, it leads, right? They know the black people are gonna act a fool. So they're gonna cover it. They're gonna showcase it. They're gonna act like there's this outrageous rate of white officers killing black people, which is not even true at all. White officers, or you say white officers in general, place in Philly is 50-50, black and white. Yeah. But officers kill more white people, twice as many white people, as black people in shootings where people are armed. They kill more people unarmed, white than black. And here's the thing that people always bring up. Well, there's more white people. Police officers don't deal with every single person in the population. They deal with the criminal element of the population. If you look at African Americans in America. You know what? We make up 12, 13% of the population, yet we commit over half of the murders in this country, over half of the violent crimes in this country. So the bulk of criminal activity is coming from a small, let me clarify that. 13% of the population is way overblown number. It's more like 6 or 7% of the population. Because when you take out older people, young people, women, it's mostly young men between the age of, 16 and 35 that are doing the bulk of these crimes. So let's say 6% is committing over half of the murders and violent crimes in this country. When you look at it like that, police have an overwhelmingly higher presence in the black community dealing with the criminal element, yet they shoot more white people than they shoot black people. If you look at the proportionality of numbers, that it's actually a less likely chance per capita that you get shot as a black man as opposed to white people in America. And that to me rules out the idea of the racist policing in America. Do you think people they're not gonna be proactive in policing? We've already seen it happen. I mean, if people are now thinking that we're gonna get to that point, you're way behind. We're there. We were there from Ferguson. People don't realize it. The crime rate in these areas are skyrocketing. Officers, proactive policing is going down. Listen, police are responsive, right? They respond to crimes, right? If me and you got into an altercation, I pulled a gun, I shot you, they're not there before I shoot you. They come after the fact. But the greatness of policing, if it's done properly, is proactive policing. Therefore, they've already had contact with me, understood that I'm a danger. I've probably gotten arrested for crimes I've done before I shoot you. That is the way you police. But the reason, what they're doing today is they're killing the spirit of officers being proactive. Because you see a guy doing a hand-to-hand. People without the experience in law enforcement will say, oh, it's just a hand-to-hand. No, that hand-to-hand has killed so many people in the community with drugs and crime and all this other stuff. We see that. We arrest the man hand-to-hand, we get into a scuffle with him. Now, police brutality, we get fired. Officer sees hand-to-hand and say, I'm not going to care more than the community does. Because it takes a lot, man, for you to risk life and death every day, putting your family through that, and you want to, at the end of the day, you want to get your pension. And you lose your pension over something you did correctly, over something that you were justified in doing, but because the community became outraged, you lose it all. You see officers getting fired all the time, officers doing bad stuff, they're skipping over backgrounds. It is making policing in America more dangerous by the rhetoric that they're spewing, which is false. Yeah. These are lies that they're telling you. Michael Brown, they're still talking about hands up, don't shoot. Lie. Eric Garner, I will fight to the death about the justification of use of force against Eric Garner. Tamir Rice, all of these shootings and all these things, if you're a police officer, you understand that these are justified uses of force. People conflate the two. Justified killings is what they call it, or killing somebody versus the justification of use of force. There's a big difference. They weren't trying to kill Eric Garner. The dude was fat, overweight, heart condition. You use any force against him, he's going to go into cardiac arrest. He's like a ticking time bomb. They weren't trying to kill Tamir Rice, the young kid, that he had to pull the gun on him. He got put in a bad position. He used force against him. Unfortunately, that one shot caused his death. We get taught in the academy, and when I first said this to me, I thought it was the most extreme thing in the world. I'm like, oh, they going too far. What they teach you in the academy is that and not everywhere, we're in my academy, you have to be prepared to kill every single person you interact with. You have to be prepared emotionally to kill every person that you interact with. Because if you're not, you're going to die. You're going to get killed, and you're going to get all your other buddies killed. So you have to be able to have the mindset that at any moment this person can turn on me, whether or not they're a kid, whether or not they're an elderly woman, because we've seen the spectrum of officers getting killed by all kinds of people. You have to be prepared for that. And people don't understand our perspective. This is not a video game. You don't get to hit the reset button. When you die for real, and you're gone forever. And the unique part of what we see is that we see people die every day. We see the last breath. We see a person pleading for their life. And in the officer's mind, it's like, I don't want to look like that when I die. I don't want my family to see me like this guy. I don't want to be at my last breath not being able to talk to my son on the phone. You need to do the right thing, or if it's me or you, I'm going to win. I pulled my gun when I was an officer 4 or 5 times a week. People have guns. I didn't escape death. I don't know how many times. People don't see that side. Every officer has their own perspective about life, right? We may go to the same call You may have been shot before. I've never been shot. So I'm green behind there. I'm driving in there, no caution.
Yeah.
That other officer may have a reflection in the mind of, man, last time I got shot because I did this. Last time I got shot, I seen the guy pull it from here, but I didn't react fast enough. They get to the call, here he go. Pulling, now he shot. You get what I'm saying? So the moral of the story is that we do go through a lot, and if people understood, they will be able to see these shootings in a much clearer light. Anti-police, Democrats. And what are they doing? They're causing police not to act. They're causing police to be the enemy of the people. People aren't snitching. They're not cooperating with police. Now crimes aren't being solved. Those things have issues. They want you to be on food stamps. They don't want you to be independent. They don't want you to go out and get it on your own. They don't want jobs to come to your community. They don't want that. They need you to need them so they can win votes.
When you say they, are you talking about like the
Democratic elite?
You're talking about the political class.
Political class.
Because I believe, even for, I mean, you know enough about my political evolution, for as frustrated as I am with the lefties these days, most of them I think are just misguided. I don't think they're bad people. I don't think they're really trying to screw over black people or something like that. The elite do it, and they're easy bumper sticker answers. Give more money to this community for this. Sounds good. Get the police out. Their police are killing. Like, it all sounds kind of right. But I don't think the average person actually believes that.
No.
But it's breaking through that.
Party line politics is what's destroying people. And it's almost like this. Look, I equate slavery and then the freedom of slaves to the Democratic Party today. And this is how I compare the two. When slaves were on a plantation, they knew it was wrong, whatever the case may be. The slaves didn't want to be there. But when they got free, what did the slave master tell them? Oh, wait. How are you going to survive out there on your own? Who's going to take care of you? You're going to have food. We can feed you. We'll take care of you. Make sure you're safe. Stay here in slavery. And a lot of slaves did. They felt comfortable. They didn't want to go out on their own and risk the big bad world. Become entrepreneurs. Be free. The Democratic Party is almost the same similar concept because black folks need to be free. We need to understand that we can be entrepreneurs. We can be flight attendant. We can do it all. They don't want you to go into this big bad world and fail. Failure is only a pathway to success. If you never fail, you will never be successful. They don't want you to get off the plantation. They want you to stay so they can coddle you. And then our communities become desolate.
It's interesting because everything you just said is basically what Kanye said about the mentality of slavery. And then what happened? Well, mainstream media said he should be in a mental institution.
Right. More so in the conservative movement or in the Republican Party, their focus is the people more so often. We want you to be free, less government, whatever. The Democrats want power by any means necessary. They will support border wall. They will support strong immigration reform. Then, when it's not advantageous for votes, they will switch it in the same conversation they're having with you and act like it never happened. As a person who's new to politics, just seeing Chuck Schumer and all of them once just advocate. Barack Obama deported the most people in United States history out of any president. And then they turn and they cry on TV. And they make up this stuff. They tell you if you come to a port of entry, you're going to be separated from your family, which is a lie. If you come to a port of entry and you seek asylum, you go through a process for them to verify your asylum seeking request. If you get busted over here or you trying to sneak through the border, that's when you get separated because now you're going through a criminal proceeding. They know that, but they'll never tell you. Why haven't any of these candidates been pandering as much to black folks? Think about this. They speaking in Spanish. They on there talking about they gonna give every illegal free health care. They want to get housing. Why are they not saying we're gonna fix Chicago?
I think I know where you're going.
We're gonna fix the school system because we are being replaced. We 13% of the population. How much do our vote really count? Now the Hispanic community or even the legals are coming in by the millions. I don't know, in about 10 years. They'll never need another black person again to vote because our vote won't count. It's about leaving people who ain't doing nothing for you. And in many of these cases in the inner city, you've been voting for them 40 years. You still complaining. You still ain't got nothing. You still blaming people. Don't blame the Republican white man because the Republicans ain't even in your community. They ain't talking to you. They're not doing nothing for you. Blame the people who are there in your community perpetuating these things. Stop voting for them. I'm not telling you do your research, but one thing you do know, you may not know what the Republicans offer because you never gave them a chance. What you do know is the Democrats haven't done nothing. And you're talking about a person in my whole family, Democrat. I grew up feeling like I was a Democrat. And dude, when the truth bomb hits you, it's like a ton of bricks. Republicans are like the nicest people that you know. I'm not just saying Republicans. I'm saying people that are more on the conservative spectrum.
Yeah.
There's obviously libertarian and it's flexible on that part, all the way to far right. But I feel like that people are in around the conservative side and viewpoint are the most generous people I've met, are the most realistic people. They say, well, let's go by the Constitution. Let's go by what's fair. The other side seems to be more emotional. It's not about what's fair. It's what I feel. If one person have an alt and they say, just say transgender, for example, if a transgender person, one person, not saying that we shouldn't acknowledge a person's feelings, because God's mission is to love everybody. But one person says, you know what? I need a bathroom. They are willing to say everybody's rights have to be restructured. Everybody's feelings are thrown out of the loop because one person has a request that could infringe on everybody else, but we don't care because that person deserves to have this. You vote based on the values of your community and what you want to see change. And that's kind of what the premise of Blexit, and I think that people get too caught up in the name Blexit, right? I know that I know that the name it means a lot, obviously, because the movement is named after it. But the thing is freedom. When I see Blexit, I see freedom. When some people see Blexit, they say, oh, you hate the Democrat. It has really not much to do with the Democratic Party. It's more of being free. Having a free mind. There's something else out there. Most black people are conservative, believe it or not. Even black criminals are conservative. All you got to do is think about it for a few seconds. Name a drug dealer want to pay taxes on it.
Most drug dealers are libertarian.
Name a drug dealer that's like, hey, man, you wasn't hustling all week and putting your life on the line. Maybe you were sick that day. Let me give all my drug money and split it with you because it's fair. It's never going to happen. Name a drug dealer that don't have a gun, that don't want their right to bear arms, per se, to protect themselves. And I know it's a weird analogy, but I think that it resonates because in the community, those things are not just the criminal element of it, but the conservative ideas.
Right. So give me a wider example than just the black people as the criminal there. The
most religious people, I think, per capita is black folks. We go to church every Sunday. We shout in charismatic churches. I mean, we'll throw a scripture at you in a minute. We are the most conservative culturally, in my opinion. At least growing up, we were that way. My dad didn't let you make excuses. What do you mean you want somebody to hand something to you? You better work for what you got. My dad started at 18 years old on the fire department. Now he's the chief. My dad didn't put up with that. It's unacceptable. You don't want to be a coward. You're a strong man. These are the things that grandfathers used to say too. Think about music. Think about culture. Black people dominate culture because we created a unique idea on our own in many ways. That is more of a conservative idea. We don't want to be followers. We don't want people telling us what to do. We've always pushed the envelope as a community. That's, to me, more of a conservative idea. Look at the entrepreneurs going from drug dealing to being billionaires, Jay-Z and all these other people who took advantage of saying you can turn your life around and you can be an entrepreneur. You can make it as high as you want to. Oprah Winfrey, you can keep naming them. I'll tell you one that people really don't talk about is Madam C.J. Walker, who's the first female millionaire out of any race in the early 1900s. Millionaire. They got pictures of her with white people driving her around in the early 1900s. So we have always understood the entrepreneurial spirit. And for some reason, we believe that the Democrats are that side instead of the Republicans, and we've been confused. These people are evilness to our community. They are dead. It's almost like in the Bible, the Pharisees and all the people who were the leaders and rulers, and they were just doing all this phony stuff, and they didn't care about the people anymore. And it was all about them, and they're religious, all this stuff that don't mean anything. Everybody have their moment where that card fall and then I'll go down. My moment was when Barack Obama was trashing police. The card fell. People's moment is watching that Congressional Black Caucus sit on their hands and be like, y'all really don't care. This is a game to y'all. Card fell. People are switching.
Certain amount of people, and I think it's a large amount of people actually, that know, they see all of it and they go, there's still an aversion to Trump, to whatever it is that Trump is.
Yeah.
Is there anything you think Trump could do to change that?
I mean, he's facing a double-edged sword, right? If he's not controversial, if he's not standing up for himself, they're not gonna cover him properly, and then everybody's gonna think he's a monster. He has to go on Twitter and be controversial. He has to draw attention to himself to a certain degree, which some people don't like. But people have to understand how significant Trump is in this entire big picture, right? I don't like everything he does. I love Trump, man. I'm a Trumpster. I don't like everything he does. Sometimes I wish he wouldn't get in the fights with certain people. Some people say it's necessary. Sometimes I'm like, come on, man. But I see the bigger picture. I'm looking at the Supreme Court justices. I'm looking at policies. I'm looking at him setting a standard for supporting law enforcement in this country. I'm seeing him set standards that I'm saying, okay, I'm okay with you not being perfect, but you're opening up so many more opportunities and doors that the next person that come in may be a little more polished, but you have saved America in the process. I don't expect people to feel like this man, and nobody does this anyway. They just want an excuse to be mad at Trump. The man is not a pastor. He's not my spiritual leader. So I'm not looking to him for morality. Get the doggone job done. Obama had it all, right? Shooting basketball, he was charismatic. He could say and sound sweet talking. He was this cool dude that could talk good and he sound polished and he was hip and the rappers come to the White House. But what did you do based on what we elected you? Nothing. You almost ruined our country, in my opinion. Almost set us up for complete failure. I don't care what you do in your personal life. What does the job description say? Get that done first, and then we worry about everything else second. I understand people are going to be adverse to it. And that's why I said earlier when we were talking that Trump is the battering ram that's setting up this crescendo effect that once he's gone and another person with the mannerisms and the behaviors of America first that can articulate it in more of a compassionate way or more of a personable way, that person, all of the seeds that Trump planted, that person is going to water them and they're going to sprout. And so I understand this is kind of the way he has to be.
And for more on Brandon, you can follow him at The Officer Tatum.